The desperate signal captain Marcus Reed gripped the controls of his salvage vessel Iron Phoenix as the distress beacon cut through the static like a blade through silence. 3 weeks he'd been drifting in the outer rim, hunting for derelict ships and forgotten cargo containers. The pay was terrible, but it kept him fed and his ship running. The signal originated from the Kepler mining station, a massive facility that processed rare minerals from the asteroid belt. According to his scanners, the station had gone dark. 6 hours ago, no communication, no life signs. Nothing but that haunting emergency broadcast repeating endlessly into the void. Marcus ran his weathered hands through graying hair. At 52, he'd seen enough corporate disasters to know when something was seriously wrong. Mining stations didn't just go silent. They had backup systems, redundant communications, and enough safety protocols to choke a bureaucrat. His ship shuddered as he fired the main engines, pushing toward the station's coordinates. The Iron Phoenix wasn't much to look at, a converted cargo hauler with patched hull plating and jury-rigged systems, but she'd never let him down. The journey would take for hours at maximum burn. As space folded around him, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just another routine salvage job. The timing felt wrong. 3 major mining operations had suffered accidents in the past month, each one stranger than the last. Corporate security claimed equipment failures. But Marcus had heard whispers in the spacer bars, stories of things moving in the dark between stars. The station materialized out of hyperspace like a metallic mountain, its hull scarred and twisted. Emergency lights flickered weakly along its superstructure, casting eerie shadows across the mining arrays. But what made Marcus's blood run cold wasn't the damage, it was what was attached to the station. Organic growths covered entire sections of the hull, pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that hurt to look at directly. They spread like cancer across the metal, converting the station's structure into something alien and wrong. His scanner couldn't identify the material, but it registered massive energy readings from within. A new signal joined the distress beacon, something that made his communication array scream with feedback. It wasn't human language, wasn't even close. The sounds crawled under his skin like living things, carrying harmonics that human ears weren't meant to process. Marcus had seen a lot in his years as a salvager, but nothing had prepared him for this. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to jump back to hyperspace and report this to Colonial Command. But then he detected something that changed everything. Life signs, human life signs, faint but unmistakable, coming from the station's core. Someone was still alive in there, trapped in whatever nightmare had consumed Kepler Station. The readings showed at least 30 survivors, their biosignatures weak but stable. Marcus stared at the nightmare station for a long moment, weighing his options. He could run, save himself, and let others deal with this horror. Or he could do what humans had always done when faced with the impossible: push forward and save lives. He engaged the docking clamps. Into the heart of darkness, their lock sealed behind Marcus with a finality that made his spine crawl. The station's atmosphere was breathable but wrong, thick with an organic smell that reminded him of rotting flowers and copper. Emergency lighting cast everything in hellish red, and the walls themselves seemed to pulse with a rhythm that matched no human heartbeat. His magnetic boots clanged against deck plating that had been partially converted by the alien growth. Where metal met organism, the boundary blurred into something that looked disturbingly like scar tissue. Marcus kept his plasma rifle ready as he followed the life sign readings deeper into the station. The corridors told a story of desperate resistance. Blast marks scorched the walls where security teams had made their last stand. Equipment lay scattered everywhere, mining tools repurposed as weapons, barricades built from furniture and spare parts. But there were no bodies, just empty clothing and personal effects scattered like confetti. Marcus found the first survivor in what had been the station's cafeteria. Chief Engineer Tobias Reeves huddled behind an overturned table, his mining suits, environmental systems keeping him alive in the toxic atmosphere. When he saw Marcus, relief flooded his weathered features. "Thank God," Reeves gasped. "We thought everyone had forgotten about us. What happened here?" Marcus helped the older man to his feet, noting the improvised weapon in his hands, a plasma cutter modified for combat. "They came out of nowhere," Reeves explained, his voice shaking. "The Zephyrians. We thought they were just another trading species, same as the Valdari or the Kethri. They docked 3 days ago claiming engine trouble." Marcus felt ice form in his stomach. The Zephyrians were known throughout the outer colonies as peaceful merchants, their bioships a common sight at trading stations. What changed? Everything. Reeves led him through a maintenance shaft toward the station's core. The moment they came aboard, they started converting things, not just the station people too. They'd touch someone, and that person would just change, stop being human. They crawled through narrow passages lined with the alien growth, following Marcus's scanner toward the remaining survivors. The organic material pulsed around them, and Marcus could swear he heard whispers in languages that predated human civilization. "The worst part," Reeves continued, "is that the converted ones could still talk, still sounded like our friends and colleagues, but their eyes were empty, like looking into deep space." They emerged into the central processing chamber, where Marcus's scanner had detected the largest group of survivors. 28 people huddled in a makeshift fortress built from mining equipment and debris, men and women from a dozen different worlds, united by desperation and the will to survive. Station Commander Victoria Cross stepped forward, her uniform torn but her bearing still military straight. "Captain Reed, we received your transmission. How many ships do you have?" "Just one," Marcus admitted, and watched hope die in several faces. "But she's fast, and I know routes the Zephyrians won't expect." "One ship for 30 people, Cross said grimly. "The Phoenix is a salvage vessel, not a passenger liner. We'll make it work." Marcus checked his chronometer. "How long do we have?" "The conversion process accelerates." Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the station's xenobiologist, spoke up. Her face was pale but determined. "My research shows they're preparing for something big. The biomass they've created here isn't just infection, it's construction material." Marcus felt the pieces clicking together in his mind. "They're building something, a gateway." Cross confirmed. "We've been monitoring their communications. The station is just the first step. They plan to convert entire worlds, turn them into staging grounds for something they call the Great Convergence." The station shuddered around them, and through the chamber's viewports, Marcus could see more Zephyrian bioships approaching, dozens of them, their organic hulls glistening like oil on water. "Time's up," he announced. "Everyone who can walk, grab what you need. We're leaving now." As they prepared to move, Dr. Tanaka grabbed his arm. "Captain, there's something else. Something I discovered about their conversion process. It's not just biological, it's quantum. They're rewriting reality itself." Marcus stared at her, understanding dawning. This wasn't just about one mining station or even one species. This was about the fundamental nature of existence itself, and humanity was standing directly in their path. The impossible choiceth journey to Marcus's ship became a nightmare of crawling through maintenance shafts and avoiding Zephyrian patrols. The converted humans moved through the station like living ghosts, their footsteps perfectly synchronized. As they searched for the survivors, Marcus led the group through routes he'd memorized during his years salvaging similar facilities. "Captain," whispered Lieutenant Jake Morrison, the station's security chief, "movement ahead." Marcus raised his fist, and 30 people froze in the narrow corridor. Through the organic growths covering the walls, bioluminescent patterns pulsed. In waves that seemed to respond to their presence, the alien material was learning, adapting, becoming aware of their escape attempt. 3 converted humans rounded the corner ahead, former miners Marcus recognized from station personnel files. They moved within human precision, their eyes reflecting the emergency lighting like mirrors. When they spoke, their voices harmonized in ways human vocal cords weren't designed for. "Marcus Reed," they said in unison. "Salvage operator, registration, number 7-7-Alpha-9. You should not have come." Marcus raised his plasma rifle, but Dr. Tanaka grabbed his arm. "Wait," she whispered urgently. "They're still human underneath. The conversion process preserves the original consciousness. It just overlays something else." "Peterson," Marcus called to the lead converted miner. "Tom Peterson, you remember me from Luna Station. For a moment, something flickered in the man's eyes. Recognition, maybe even fear. "I remember," Peterson said, his voice temporarily breaking from the harmonic pattern. "But I serve the convergence now, as will you all." The three converted humans advanced. But something unexpected happened. The station's hull groaned, and a series of explosions echoed through the corridors. Emergency klaxons that had been silent for hours suddenly blazed to life. "What the hell?" Morrison demanded. Dr. Tanaka checked her scanner, her face pale with shock. "Ships, dozens of them. Human ships." Marcus felt his heart skip. "Colonial fleet." "No," Commander Cross said grimly, studying the tactical display on her portable unit. "These are civilian vessels. Cargo haulers, mining ships, even a few passenger liners. They're not military." Through the station's communication system, a voice crackled with static but unmistakably human determination. "This is Captain Rachel Stone, of the merchant vessel Dauntless. Any human survivors, respond immediately. We're here to get you out." Marcus activated his communicator. "Stone, this is Reed aboard Kepler Station. I have 30 survivors ready for immediate extraction." "Copy that, Reed. We're detecting massive alien activity in your area. Can you reach Docking Bay 7? Marcus checked his map display. "Negative. The route's compromised. We'll have to use the cargo launch system." "Reed," Stone's voice carried a note of urgency. "You need to know something. This isn't just happening here. 17 mining stations for agricultural colonies and research outposts have gone dark in the past week. The Zephyrians are moving fast." The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. This wasn't an isolated incident, it was the opening move in a war humanity didn't even know it was fighting. Dr. Tanaka suddenly grabbed his arm. "Captain, the conversion material, it's reacting to the fleet's presence. The quantum signature is changing." Through the walls, the organic growths began pulsing faster, their bioluminescent patterns shifting from random pulses to structured communications. The station itself was becoming a living computer, processing information and transmitting it to the approaching Zephyrian vessels. "They're calling for reinforcements," Commander Cross realized. "The station is a communication relay." Marcus made a decision that would change everything. "Cross, get everyone to the cargo bay. Morrison, help her clear the route. Tanaka, I need you to come with me." "Where are you going?" Cross demanded. "To the reactor core," Marcus replied grimly. "If this station is talking to their fleet, we're going to give it something permanent to say." Dr. Tanaka understood immediately. A feedback pulse. "If we overload the organic network while it's transmitting, we could disrupt their entire communication grid," Marcus finished. "Maybe by the fleet time to evacuate other stations." Commander Cross stepped forward. "That's a suicide mission. The radiation alone will kill you in minutes." Marcus looked at the group of survivors: miners, engineers, scientists, security personnel, people who'd risked everything just to stay human. Sometimes you have to make the hard choice. But Dr. Tanaka surprised everyone. "No, Captain. Sometimes you have to make the smart choice." She held up a modified scanner. "I've been studying their conversion process. I think I know how to reverse it." The station shuddered again as the human fleet engaged Zephyrian bioships in the space around them. Time was running out, and Marcus faced an impossible decision: save the survivors he could see, or risk everything for a chance to save humanity itself. The human response. Marcus stared at Dr. Tanaka's scanner readings, his mind racing. "You're saying you can reverse the conversion process?" "Theoretically," she replied, her hands trembling with excitement and fear. "The quantum overlay they use to control human consciousness. It's stable but not permanent. If we can generate the right frequency pulse, we might be able to break their hold." The station rocked as another explosion echoed through the corridors. Through the communication system, Captain Stone's voice crackled with urgency. "Reed, we're taking heavy fire out here. These bioships are unlike anything we've faced." "How long do you need?" Marcus made the hardest decision of his life. "Cross, take half the group to the cargo bay. Get them out of here. Morrison, you're with me and the doctor." "Sir, I can't leave you," Cross protested. "That's an order, Commander." Marcus's voice carried the authority of command despite his civilian status. "If this doesn't work, Someone needs to warn Earth about what's coming. As Cross led 15 survivors toward the extraction point, Marcus, Dr. Tanaka, and Morrison made their way to the station's core. The converted humans seemed to sense their intent. Patrol groups converged on their position. With increasing frequency, they're learning our tactics, Morrison observed, firing his plasma rifle at a group of converted engineers. Each encounter, they adapt faster. The reactor core had been transformed into something resembling a living cathedral. Organic conduits connected the fusion reactor to massive biocomputing nodes that pulsed with alien intelligence. The air itself seemed thick with data streams, visible as shimmering distortions that made human eyes water. My God, Dr. Tanaka breathed. They've turned the entire reactor into a quantum processor. The energy output isn't just powering the station, it's powering their collective consciousness across multiple star systems. Marcus studied the setup, his salvager's instincts translating alien technology into practical problems. If we disrupt this, what happens to the converted humans? Best case, they return to normal. Worst case, Tanaka hesitated. The shock could kill them. Through the chamber's massive viewports, the battle raging outside became visible. Human ships, cargo haulers, retrofitted with mining lasers, passenger liners mounting improvised weapons fought desperately against Zephyrian bio-vessels that moved like living things. It was courage versus technology, determination versus perfection. But the humans were losing. For every bioship they destroyed, two more appeared from hyperspace. The Zephyrians weren't just better equipped, they were coordinated by a collective intelligence that anticipated every human tactic. Captain Stone, Marcus called over his communicator. We're in position, but I need you to do something for me. Name it, Reed. When I give the signal, I need every human ship in the system to broadcast on emergency frequency. Everything you've got, personal messages, old music files, ship logs, anything human. What the hell for? Dr. Tanaka understood. You're going to flood their quantum network with human consciousness patterns. Create interference in their collective processing. Something like that. Marcus began connecting his ship's communication array to the station's biocomputing network. Tanaka, how long do we have once I start the feedback pulse? Maybe 30 seconds before the system overloads. After that, she shrugged. We become part of their collective, or we die. No third option. Morrison positioned himself at the chamber's entrance, his weapon trained on the approaching converted humans. Sir, we've got company, lots of it. Through the corridors came the synchronized footsteps of dozens of converted personnel. But they weren't attacking, they were speaking, their voices joining in a harmonic frequency that resonated through the station's hull. They're trying to counter our interference, Tanaka realized. Using the converted humans as organic transmitters, Marcus's hands flew over the improvised controls. Stone, now. Every ship, every frequency, everything human. You can broadcast. Space around the station suddenly filled with human voices. Ship captains reading crew manifests. Miners singing work songs. Children sending messages to parents on distant worlds. The cacophony of human experience crashed into the Zephyrian quantum network like a tsunami. The organic growths throughout the station began to convulse. Bioluminescent patterns flickered and died as the alien computing system struggled to process the chaos of human consciousness. The converted personnel stopped their advance, confusion replacing the perfect coordination they'd shown before. It's working, Dr. Tanaka shouted over the growing chaos. The quantum overlay is destabilizing. But the system began fighting back. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut throughout the station. As the alien intelligence tried to isolate the interference, the reactor core's energy output spiked to dangerous levels, and Marcus realized they had minutes before the entire station went critical. Morrison, get Tanaka out of here, he ordered. Not without you, sir. Marcus looked at the improvised control setup, knowing someone had to maintain the interference pattern manually. Tell Cross something for me. Tell her this wasn't just a rescue. This was humanity's first strike back. As Morrison dragged Dr. Tanaka toward the exit, Marcus saw something incredible through the viewports. The human fleet wasn't retreating anymore. The bioships, deprived of their collective coordination, began making mistakes. Human ingenuity and determination started winning against alien perfection. The converted humans in the station began speaking again, but this time, their voices were their own. The price of freedom. Feedback pulse reached critical resonance, and Marcus felt the station's hull vibrate like a struck bell. Throughout the facility, the organic growths began to wither, their bioluminescent patterns dying as the quantum network collapsed. But the process was tearing the station apart from the inside. Emergency klaxons screamed as structural supports failed. Under the stress of the alien material's death throes, Marcus maintained his position at the improvised control interface, keeping the interference pattern stable even as debris rained down around him. Through his communicator, he could hear the battle turning in humanity's favor. "This is Stone to all ships." Captain Rachel Stone's voice crackled through the static. "Their coordination is breaking down. Press the advantage." In the reactor chamber, the converted station personnel began to collapse as the alien overlay was ripped from their minds. Tom Peterson, the miner Marcus had recognized earlier, stumbled toward him with tears in his eyes. "Captain," Peterson gasped, his voice fully human again. "What did they make me do? I remember everything. But it wasn't me controlling it." "It's over now," Marcus told him, still maintaining the interference pattern. "Help me get the others out of here." But Dr. Tanaka's voice came over the communicator with urgent news. "Captain, the quantum feedback is spreading beyond the station. I'm detecting disruptions in bioships across the entire system. Whatever you did, it's propagating through their network, through the chamber's viewports." Marcus watched the impossible happen. Zephyrian bioships throughout the system began to convulse and die, as the quantum interference spread like a virus through their collective consciousness. But more importantly, they were receiving transmissions from other systems, mining stations, research outposts, agricultural colonies, all reporting that their converted personnel were returning to normal. "Reed," came Commander Cross's voice from the cargo bay, "we've got problems. The station's reactor is going critical. We need to evacuate now." Marcus looked at the control interface, knowing that if he stopped the interference pattern, the effect might not reach all the Zephyrian networks. Humanity would win this battle but lose the war. Someone had to maintain the signal until every affected system was clear. "Cross, get everyone to the ships. All of you." "Marcus, no." Dr. Tanaka's voice was firm. "I've run the calculations. The interference pattern will maintain itself for at least 10 minutes. Once it reaches full resonance, the quantum network will continue to collapse without manual input." Marcus stared at the readings, hope flickering in his chest. "You're sure? Trust the science, Captain. Trust human ingenuity." Marcus stepped back from the controls and watched as the interference pattern stabilized. At full resonance, the alien quantum network wasn't just disrupted, it was being systematically destroyed by the chaotic beauty of human consciousness. Every personal message, every fragment of human experience that the fleet had broadcast was acting like antibodies in the Zephyrian collective mind. The evacuation became a race against time as the station's structure failed around them. Marcus led the recovered personnel through collapsing corridors, following emergency lighting toward the docking bays. Behind them, the reactor core's containment began to fail. As alien and human technology tore each other apart, they reached the Iron Phoenix just as the station's hull began to buckle. Marcus's salvage vessel was overcrowded with 43 survivors, instead of its designed capacity of 12. But human engineering had always been about making impossible things work. "Phoenix to fleet," Marcus called as they cleared the station's debris field. "All personnel recovered. We're clear for jump." "Copy that, Reed." Captain Stone replied. "Colonial Command is requesting immediate debrief." "What do we tell them?" Marcus looked at the survivors crowded into his ship's hold: miners, scientists, engineers, and security personnel who had faced conversion into something inhuman and chosen to remain themselves at any cost. "Tell them the war has started, but also tell them something else." "What's that?" "Tell them humanity doesn't surrender. We don't give up, and we sure as hell don't let aliens decide what it means to be human." As the fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind the dying Kepler station, Dr. Tanaka showed Marcus her final readings. The quantum interference had spread to 17 systems, freeing thousands of converted humans and destroying dozens of Zephyrian bioships in the process. "Captain," she said quietly, "what you started here, it's going to change everything." The Zephyrians have been using this conversion technique for centuries, building their empire by absorbing other species. But human consciousness, it's too chaotic, too individual for their collective processing. Marcus nodded, understanding the implications. They bit off more than they could chew. More than that, every species they've absorbed was orderly, predictable. But humans, we're creative, stubborn, and absolutely refuse to follow the rules. We're like a computer virus in their quantum network. As news spread throughout human space about the victory at Kepler Station, something unprecedented began to happen. Merchant captains started retrofitting their ships with weapons. Mining guilds formed militias. Agricultural colonies organized defense forces. The Zephyrian attack had awakened something that had been sleeping in humanity since their first steps into space. Marcus looked out at the stars streaming past in hyperspace and smiled grimly. The aliens had thought they were conquering another compliant species. Instead, they just introduced themselves to humanity's oldest tradition, making the impossible possible. Through sheer bloody-minded determination, the war was just beginning. But humanity had already won its most important victory. They'd proven that some things, freedom, individuality, the right to be human, were worth any price. And they'd shown the galaxy that humans don't just survive, they thrive.